GRT documents track maps. One server.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
They say it's always darkest before the dawn, and in the world of motorsports, those words ring especially true. As is tradition, Daytona greets us as we emerge from our winter hibernation. But this year, we awaken 30 years in the past. This time we celebrate a bygone era as drivers take to the unrefined beasts that are the Audi Quattro and the Nissan GTP. A new season is about to dawn, the darkness about to fade. The 2018 Classic Daytona 2.4. An endurance race from the ages, for the ages. Coming to you live. iRacing Live on February 4th, 2018.
first season of 2018's Monday Night V8 Supercars. We're back after a little summer's break to recharge the batteries and prepare ourselves for a thrilling final 8 rounds of this championship, which takes place tonight at the Montreal circuit with concrete walls and long straights just about everywhere. Alongside me tonight for his first broadcast as a commentator is Evolution Racing Team's Blancpain World Championship driver Zachary Hanlon. And Zach, we're already 4 rounds into this championship and Martin McMullen has had a stunning start, but with this field of drivers that we have here tonight, it won't be plain sailing for the Performance Sim Sports driver.
No, that's right, Bo. Obviously, the championship's looking very good at the moment, very healthy. We've got a lot of drivers in here tonight, which is absolutely fantastic. We're just looking at the championship standings at the moment. We've obviously got Marlon J. McMullen in the top position on 678 points. That puts him roughly 212 points clear of Corey Preston and Emily Jones not far behind on 465. We've also got Brett Cananzani, Mario Vlasic rounding out the top 5. Then you've got Matt Morris, followed up by Tony Klusterman, Kevin Bullahas, and Brett Loxton and Craig Jones. All those guys from 2nd to 10th are all within about 60 points of each other. So very tight in the top 10. Marlon's got a big lead. I believe he's done more strength of field races compared to everyone else. But tonight, is a good opportunity for everyone to try and claw some of those points back.
Yeah, absolutely, and he has some very tough competition tonight. And Richard Hampstead, who currently is sitting on the top of the tree in qualifying right now on a 34.8, but he's only got 300ths back to Rhino Sullivan, who won't be completing a second lap either. So for Sullivan, the top PRT driver at the moment, second going to be the best he hopes for. Hampstead is going to try and improve that lap time even more, and he's going to need to, as Marlon McMullen is still hoping to move up the order. The championship leader, of course, sitting in 7th place in qualifying at the moment. So on a track that is relatively hard to pass apart from the final sector, that is not where the championship leader needs to be right now.
No, you're absolutely right, Bo, but obviously at the last round for the V8's online broadcast, last time we were here at Montreal, we had a pretty exciting race, especially in the closing stages. So overtaking is definitely not off the cards, but there's only a few choice spots around here. Everywhere else you try and overtake, going offline can lose you a lot of time. So trying to psych out your opponents and position your car correctly is going to be very important throughout this entire race.
Absolutely, as we watch McMullen through the final chicane, so easy to get a slowdown there, but no issues such on his second lap here. He's hoping to improve on a 35.2, and it's a 35.3, so not happening for Marlon McMullen. So he's going to be down the order, which is a disaster for him. As we continue to watch more drivers on their second laps, one of those drivers is such 3rd place in the championship, Emily Jones, who has done her first lap and it has not been registered. So for Jones, on her second lap now, a bit of damage on the car as well on my screen, could be netcode. But for Jones, this second lap is very critical if she's going to fight for the championship, as Dane Warren flies to the top of the tree with a 34.4 to pip Hampstead by the smallest of margins.
Yeah, Emily's looking pretty good on her lap here. She's just coming up to the hairpin now, keeping it nice and smooth the whole way through. Just see her come in here, nice and late on the brakes. Nice late apex to get a lot of speed. Coming up to that final chicane, which is obviously one of the most difficult corners here. I know I was doing some practice earlier in the week. I found the wall there in several different places on several different occasions. But she's really putting this lap together nicely so far. We'll just see how she does coming into the chicane here. Nice and hard on the brakes. Clips the first curve, clips the second curve. Nice and smooth on the exit. Make the run down here. We'll see what she can put down. And that's a 135.9, which is going to put her in 19th. And that is, I'm sure she's not going to be very happy with that result.
No, not at all. Looked a little bit untidy into the hairpin, so a disaster there for her. As Dane Warren coming to complete his second lap now, as there's still a couple of drivers on their second laps at the moment, so still the results are not yet final. Ryan Shelton, another one of those drivers who's on a second lap, but we can keep our attention to Dane Warren, currently on pole, and right now, if he can improve that time even more, clips the exit of the wall of champions. Of course, our reigning champion of this series, so he's entitled to hit the wall, and he's also entitled to improve his time by another 400ths. So Dane Warren stamping his authority at the front of the field right now.
Yeah, Dane and Richard really got a nice little gap there up at the front at the moment. We've got Dane on a 0.459, Richard on a 0.505, so there's only about 500s between them. Then you got about a 3/10 gap back to ERT's Ryan O'Sullivan. But looking even from 4th all the way through to 14th, there's only about 6/10 between all those guys. So I think we're going to have some really good racing here tonight.
Start grid on screen.
So we're now going to have a look at our starting grid, which is now on screen. Of course, Dane Warren topping the timesheets there by half a tenth ahead of TTL's Richard Hampstead. So great result for those two. And they have a 3/10 buffer back to Ryan O'Sullivan and Jordan Ross, who complete 3rd and 4th on the grid. Brett Loxton and Riley Blythe complete the 3rd row of the grid. Riley involved in that amazing battle in last season's race. Can he move up the field once again? To do so, he's going to have to hold off the 4th row of the grid in Brady Myers and Michael Taliantic, with championship leader Marlon McMullen and Corey Preston rounding out the top 10.
Yep, and then we've got Wayne C. Burke sitting there in P11. Not a bad effort from him. Greg Sharp pulling up nicely in 12th. They're followed up by Matt Morris in 13th, Thomas Hins in 14th. We've got Cooper Webster starting out of 15th position. Jason Cossey down there in 16th. Craig Jones, obviously a regular in this series, starting out of P17. Lance Perkins in P18. Emily Jones a lot further down the field than when she'd want to be in 19th. I think that'd probably go the same for Scott Larnack, who's sitting down there in P20.
And our final 5 cars include Junior Knight, Jaden Borg, Ryan Shelton, Brenton O'Brien, who's going to be looking forward on the grid, and Job Stewart rounds out 25 V8 supercars looking to tackle the streets of Montreal. The walls are close, the hairpins are tight, and long straights are many. As we are now halfway through the gridding up phase, a lot of drivers now ready on the grid for those green lights to come on in just a couple of moments time. And this is a nervous place for all these drivers as they're just sitting on the grid waiting for the lights to go out for 31 laps here today. So it's a bit of a longer race, but the fuel stop, which they will have to do, potentially ties if you're rough on your setup, is going to open at about lap 9 of the race. So with 22 laps to go, you can see drivers coming to the pits and filling up to complete the race. So lots of strategy options open for these guys here today as well, as we get set for the race with just one more car left to grid up, and indeed they have now. So it won't be long now until the revs will start to rise for round number 5 of the Monday night official V8 Supercars, and we are away, and it looks like a good start at the moment for Dane Warren, who's going to streak away into turn number 1 to the top 3, all single file now, but it's a very tricky opening few corners, which leads into a very tight hairpin, so we look to see if the entire field will make it through the first 2 corners unscathed, through turn 1 okay, 3 wide through the turn 2 hairpin, but so far everyone looks to have got through okay.
Yeah, everyone did pretty nicely there. A little bit of bumping and scraping at the back of the field, but obviously that's, to be expected. Field condensing that quickly. But yeah, off to a very clean start. Dane Warren got a really nice jump there, and he's leading Richard by a fair margin now. Richard's got a bit of heat on him from Ryan O'Sullivan from behind, and everyone's tucking in pretty nicely behind them. But yeah, we do have a car back up. Preston ran a bit wide there.
Fighting with Michael Taliantic, who got a bit of a hip and shoulder there into the one of the walls there that famously took out Jacques Villeneuve in the 2006 Canadian Grand Prix. But Preston, fortunately, this car's a little bit stronger than a BMW Sauber F1 car, so he will continue on his charge, albeit now down in 15th place. So he's just there. He's going to try and move into 14th now as the drivers make their way now onto the long back straight, and we have a slowdown there for Jordan Ross, so the Synergy Sim Racing driver who qualified up in 4th, a really strong showing for him, and he is just plummeting down the order right now. And look at this, Brady Myers also got the slowdown, which has caused huge congestion down this back straight as they now funnel their way into the very tight chicane. This could get messy. Myers up the inside of the 20 car, and Corey Preston takes a huge advantage and gets through as well to the 20 car of Matt Morris there, getting shuffled a few positions down. And that was all down to slowdowns, which are very, very easy to get around this circuit in Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, someone else has got a slow down there too. I'm just trying to figure out who that is. It looks like it was Emily Jones, so she's in the back of the field.
Greg Sharp turned to turn 1 in the worst place, and he's been collected by the 16 car. So all
Brenton O'Brien's involved.
Yep, and
got
also
a few people involved there.
So a lot of drivers involved there, and that all started with a bit of slowdowns happening down the front straight. A big kerfuffle into turn 1. The 14 car getting very aggressive, Cooper Webster, And Brady Myers, as we get a Cut Price Racing replay on screen, Brady Myers delivered the final blow to Greg Sharp's Pac-Man Advanced Simulator car. And unfortunately, that caused a big kerfuffle. When you do spin in a place like that and you don't know where you're going to be, you do have to hold the brakes there. So a bit of blame on Sharp as well. But for Brady Myers, just a bit opportunistic.
It was very unfortunate for Brenton and Emily there as well. That's such an unsighted corner coming up. If someone stopped there dead in the road, it is very, very difficult to take evasive action.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen there Jason Cossey actually getting involved in an incident as well. He's now going to hit the brakes and let the entire field go through. So a lot of damage on that car. Thought it might have just been a slowdown, but perhaps a bit more damage than we first expected to the 25 car there of Jason Cossey. So that's a shame for him. And we think he's hit the wall at the chicane there, which is very easy to do. High curbs here, so they do bounce the car quite a lot. And Craig Jones also stopped on the circuit out of the hairpin, so Craig Jones going to have an early end to his night as well. So the Montreal wall is biting very hard. Greg Sharp still going very slow. So a lot of carnage as well, but no carnage at all for Hampstead and Sullivan as they fight over second place. Hampstead hasn't stayed with Warren. Warren has opened up a 1.1 second lead at this stage of the race, and we know how brutal Warren can be when he does get that fresh air. He cannot be caught. So for Hampstead, he has to try and look forward and find some lap time, but Sullivan's not making it easy.
No, and it's very important, obviously, once you've gotten out there, and this is one of those tracks where when you're in the groove, you can absolutely kill it and you can fly away. Hampstead bringing under all that pressure from Sullivan is, I can see him, he is working the wheel as he's just fishtailing a little bit coming out of the exit of that corner there. But yeah, very, very difficult under pressure to make your way around this circuit, so I'm sure Dane is going to be keeping his head down, just keeping it clean, and if he can continue to do that, he's going to hopefully have a nice and easy race for himself. But you know, the great thing about this series as well, a lot of different strategy choices, so even if he gets away now, he may not, you know, he could fall off towards the end of the race, and those guys might be able to come back to the catch.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyres will be a big talking place around this circuit. Lots of traction zones here, so if you do not look after your rear tyres, as we saw Hampstead having a big moment there on that previous lap, which has allowed Warren to pull another 3/10 on this lap alone. Hampstead has to be careful he doesn't work those rear tyres too hard, because he'll be in a lot of trouble come the ends of the race. And just behind those guys as well, Brett Loxton has a bit of a train forming behind him as well, including Blythe, McMullen and Taliancic. So battles happening all throughout the pack at the moment, which is fantastic to see. And all drivers at the moment involved in a scrap.
Yeah, that's right. We've got another train as well. A couple of, looks like a position being changed there between Matt Morris and Emily Jones. Little pack back there from about 16th through to 21st. Brenton O'Brien's following that up. Looked like to me earlier he had a bit of damage on his car, but that seems to have all cleared itself. So he'll be putting his head forward and trying to make his way through the pack. I saw as well Marlon McMullen got a move earlier in the race. Him and Riley Blythe made a nice double pass down at the hairpin, so he's making a bit of progress, which is very positive for his championship.
Yep, of course, up 3 positions at the moment, and his next target will be Riley Blythe, who was involved in that absolute stunner of a race last season, involving himself, Ryan Borg, and Kazuki Umeshima. So if you have not seen that after this race, be sure to check it out. Some of the best racing you will see. But for Riley Blythe at the moment, it'll be tough to repeat that success, as he looks to get a move on Brett Loxton done, but he's a bit far back at the moment. But in the next few laps, he might be able to make something happen.
Oh, right, Sullivan.
So through the chicane there, and that's going to be a slowdown, so a very unfortunate end to that. But what that has done has just released the shackles of Richard Hampstead.
Yeah, it looks like he just got a little too late on the brakes there. He thought he might have gone into the back of Hampstead, and I think he just decided to bail on it at that moment. Pretty unfortunate that those slowdowns, especially in that part of the track, they can lose you seconds and seconds of time. Looks like he's dropped about 2.5 seconds behind Richard already.
Yeah, absolute disaster there for the Evolution Racing Team driver, but where one ERT car has a loss, another almost has success, as Blythe is really beginning to put the pressure on Brett Loxton, who is not looking like he has as much of an advantage as he did on the last lap. That gap has come down considerably now, and Blythe really beginning to put some pressure on. Also, Taliancic just behind had a big moment out of turn 1, so he's dropped off this pack a little bit. But if any pack is going to start getting racy and dicey, I think this fight for fourth at the moment could be the pack to watch out for.
Yeah, it is looking pretty hot at the moment. Riley and Brett having a good little battle there, and I think Marlon and Michael are just waiting there possibly for something to happen, and then as soon as it's on, I think we'll see it wide on between all four of them. We've got Jordan Ross has just spun round at the hairpin. Just go back and check if he had a little bit of help there. Yeah, looks like Brady Myers just got up the inside of there. Jordan Ross tried to turn into the corner, but there was a car on the inside, so he lost a little bit of time there, but nothing too dramatic.
Nothing too dramatic at all, but he's right back onto the gearbox of Brady Myers now, so not too much loss there in terms of position for Ross. So those two are going to continue their scrap into turn 1. Ross chooses to just stay behind the Progression Racing Australia driver just for now. But fortunately, those two are still in a fight, so they can still continue to have some fantastic racing, which is always good to see. And they're involved in a 3-car fight with Cooper Webster tagging onto the back of those guys as well as they funnel their way through one of Montreal's many chicanes. So doing very well there. And at the moment, all looks good for our top 3, who are all in a bit of clean air. So the first pack still remains as the 4th place battle. And Wayne Burke continuing to put in some good lap times at the moment. 3 tenths quicker than Taliantic on that last lap. And a staggering 5 tenths quicker than McMullen on that last lap as well. So this battle pack for 4th, it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, I feel like Brett might be holding Riley and Marlon up a little bit here. I'm sure Riley does look like he is pretty eager to get past Brett's defending a little bit. They're getting very close into the hairpin here. Riley's trying to get a good run out of there, but it looks like Brett got a pretty solid exit himself. And we've got Cooper Webster was just a little slow there coming out of the hairpin too. It looks like he just got a bit loose there, lost a little bit of time. Sorry, that was Jordan Ross who lost a bit of time to Cooper Webster there.
So drivers still continuing out on track. And a lot of drivers are suffering with the track a little bit today, which is a bit of a surprise to me. Only 25 degrees on track at the moment, and not too much wind either. Actually, I say that, but 15km/h winds, which is relatively quick for iRacing terms. So perhaps a bit of the wind just affecting the cars just a little bit into that hairpin, a very slow speed corner, where the wind can play a little bit of a role. But at the moment, Riley Blythe is still continuing to attack the back of Brett Loxton. So Blythe definitely wanting to get a move done, and is this the opportunity? He throws it down the inside. Loxton on the rear brakes, almost lost it there, but somehow pulls it up and will continue to hold that position. Blythe not getting the best exit either. So Loxton just gets a bit of breathing room just for now. Won't last till the back straight though. But for Blythe, beginning to show his impatience here and perhaps getting a bit too aggressive and trying moves that aren't quite there.
Yeah, and Brett's gotten a slowdown, so that is move done for Riley Blythe. It looks like applying that pressure could have maybe worked into the mind of Brett there, and he's made a mistake and gotten a bit of a slowdown. So it'll be interesting to see now as Riley gets very sideways coming out of the hairpin, if he and Marlon can recuperate a little bit of that time that they have up to Ryan ahead of them.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, but with Loxton falling back a little bit, what that has done has now officially made this a 5-car train. So this is a big battle pack of cars now, which includes Marlon McMullen, who now moves into the top 5 from his grid slot of 4th, and it's about to become P number 4 for Marlon McMullen. So he's going to go side by side into turn number 1 with Riley Blythe. And that wasn't a slowdown for Blythe, that was just pure overdriving the car, squirreling on the brakes for both drivers. Performance Sim Sports car up the inside and will get the move done. So for McMullen, it's going to be 2 positions in 2 laps for him. Blythe still going to try it around the outside, but that's not a place you want to do. And indeed, will fall back, or does he? Tries a bit of a touch there with McMullen, which has hurt the exit of McMullen. And look how that's bunched the field up. Taliantic looking very aggressive now. And Blythe's going to have to go defensive. McMullen goes defensive. Burke throws it up the inside of Loxton. They're going to go side by side. A hard place to do in these V8 supercars, which struggle for traction. Speaking of traction, Loxton's got none. And that's going to be door open for Wayne Burke, who's now going to have a drag race in this chicane. Not a hard braking zone, so he has to have a bit more of an overlap, and indeed forms back in line. But this battle pack getting racy extremely quickly, and it's not over yet.
Yeah, I think Riley might be a little frustrated that he kind of gave the position away there to Marlon. He's looking like he's going to have a peek up the inside here. Marlon's just going to close the door for a little bit, leaves him some room, and that is job done for Riley Blythe, but he's gotten a little bit taily on the exit, and that has allowed Marlon to come back through. This is going to be, oh look, they're weaving all over the place, drafting each other, and they, look who's right behind them. Michael is right on the gearback of Riley. Riley's going to go up the inside, but pulls out of it the last second. That's probably a smart move. And my goodness.
McMullen missing the chicane there, trying to defend his position, knew he had to brake as late as possible to defend from Blythe, and overshoots the corner just a little bit. Oh, and Burke's also got to slow down as well, so this entire train, it was a 5-car train for just a single lap. Out of nowhere, it's been completely ripped apart. 2 slowdowns, which is so easy to do around Montreal, and both McMullen and Burke falling down the order, and Brady Myers isn't too far behind as well, and he's pulling away from Ross behind, so if both Myers, Burke and McMullen can all get some more time in, and Blythe continuing to struggle with his rear tyres a little bit as he continues to come under pressure from Talyancic, this train can only get bigger and bigger potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, up the front, Dane Warren has a nice little lead over Richard Hampstead.
A huge moment into the wall. That was a huge moment, and surely he is done. These cars are strong, but not that strong. Surely he's going to continue on. But we're getting a Kart Price Racing replay, and for good reason, a huge moment there.
Yeah, that was a big one. He had that thing, I'm pretty sure, up on 3 wheels at one point. Just really grazing the wall there at an unfortunate angle. It's kicked the front of the car up. He may get away with that. It's really difficult to tell. I guess we'll see in the next lap time what he's able to pull off. But he does seem to be continuing on fairly reasonably at the moment, coming through the chicane and down into turn 1 here. It's looking not too bad.
Yep, not too bad, but that is going to be 1.2 seconds lost to Dane Warren. So Warren continuing to run away at the front just a little bit. So we're going to take a now look a bit further down the field, which is incredibly racy, which includes Larnack, McKnight, and also Lance Perkins just behind as well. So these guys all having a great fight. McKnight getting the job done on Larnack. So 2 very similar painted cars, 2 orange and black cars, fighting at the moment for position number 13. And Larnack wanting to get into the V8 Supercars a bit more this season, and this is going to be a trial by fire. He's up against McKnight, who's been a big improver in the previous season. He went from being a mid-pack driver to someone who on his day can well and truly fight with the big guns, as Larnack gets a big moment over the curbs. And McKnight is just going to run away just a bit more. So McKnight once again showing that he can get moves done and hold positions, but Larnack is going to have to hold his position as Lance Perkins in the New Zealand sim racing car getting very racy behind. And the pit window will be open on this lap, so we said you can be extremely aggressive on tyres here and fuel. It's 22 laps you can potentially do in a stint, so if someone who is feeling like they're being held up from the car in front, they can potentially pit now and go for the undercut of their life. The only issue there is where you come out in traffic and if you can get past the traffic quick enough. But if someone wants to throw a roll of the dice, this is a perfect opportunity for them to do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Some of these guys, whoa, as Corey Preston down the back of the field has a huge moment. I'm very surprised that he actually managed to keep that. Him, Ryan Sheldon and Brendan O'Brien have been having a little bit of a scrap for the last half lap, a couple of positions being exchanged there, but Corey Preston, that was I don't really know what caught that on there. He's only going around the kink, maybe a bit of contact somewhere, but I think he was just weaving all over the track and trying to apply a bit of pressure.
Another big moment for Preston, who was trying to get past the car of Brenton O'Brien. So Brenton at the moment still holding Preston off, and Preston I think does have much better lap speed than Brian at the moment, but it's just not happening for Preston. He's overdriving the car a bit, missing another apex. I think he's just got to cool down a bit, follow Brenton for a lap or 2, get the tyres back up to pressure, and let them cool down just a little bit, and have another crack at it, because right now Preston, the car does not look comfortable at all.
No, he's all over the place. He actually had the job done on both of them earlier in the lap.
Coming across you there, but we have a battle at the moment for position number 4. Blythe having to go extremely defensive against Michael Taliantic, who were going side by side into the hairpin. So Taliantic really trying to get past the car of Riley Blythe now.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, Bo, if these guys were going to kind of battle it out towards the rest of the race. Riley's been putting in some pretty consistent laps, but he doesn't look 100% comfortable with the car. Maybe just overdriving those first couple of laps has hurt his tyres quite a bit, so he may want to consider, you know, being one of those people to initiate and take one of those first pit stops.
Yeah, and one of those drivers that is the first to take a pit stop will be Wayne Burke. He was, of course, looking very racy before. In that little battle pack for 4th, got a slowdown, lost some time. So Burke has nothing to lose, of course. So he's going to dive in early and see what he can do, as Preston does in fact get that overtake done on Brenton O'Brien. So that's a position there for Preston. And also a bit of a moment for Jordan Ross, I think I'm seeing, out of the turn number 1. Something weird has happened to Jordan Ross. Maybe just overshot himself or something. Oh, a huge moment on turn-in, actually. He's had to completely miss the second hairpin. So, Cut Price Racing replay on screen now. But for Jordan Ross, big moment on turn-in there. And lost a lot of time for it. A lot more than I'm actually expecting. So that's about 5 seconds lost there for Jordan Ross.
Yeah, just looking at this battle back up at the front again. Brett Loxton just got pretty close to Michael there. Got a little bit of deep under brakes, but looks like Riley's managed to pull a tiny bit of a gap. It's not a huge one, but it is enough to relieve just a little bit of that pressure, and Brett Loxton is right behind Michael Talajanak.
Yeah, so Taliantic under a lot of pressure now from Loxton, but just having a look at lap times last time around. Blythe, 36.5, Taliantic, 36.3. Marlon McMullen in the car that is trying to get back to this pack was the quickest on a 36.1. So McMullen might have had that slowdown, but the championship leader is showing there's still plenty of pace in that car, and he's fighting very hard to make that time back up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as well once Wayne comes around for his first fly, just to see what kind of... Oh, as Jordan Ross has looped it on the main straight, coming out of the... Oh, and he's backed it into the wall there as well. Just got a little taily on the exit of the chicane there. Just got on the... We've got a cut price replay here for you. Yeah, and it looks like he just got a little bit loose on the exit there. It looks like he almost actually lost it before he got to the AstroTurf. It was already starting to kind of turn around. But that is not good for Jordan, that's for sure.
No, not at all, and he's got more
Oh, he does. He's got more troubles coming into turn 1. And that's with Corey Preston. They're going side by side. Up into turn 2 here. And Corey's just going to tuck back in. I think Corey might have a few incident points already, so he might just be calming down for the time being. Except, oh, he is all over the track. He's trying to apply as much pressure to Jordan as he can. Corey obviously wants to make up as many positions as he can from where he started.
This is a little bit of a battle of the burnt out rear tyres at the moment. Both these guys with destroyed rear tyres, no grip at all from either of these guys. You can see the body language of both their cars just sliding around so much more than everyone else. So those guys really suffering at the moment, as Emily Jones now putting a move on Jaden Borg up the inside of the hairpin. And those two are going to have a drag race down the back straight now as well. So one of our first cars of our front 3 guys, Richard Hampstead into the pits, so he's going to try and take the advantage of an early stop and gain something, as now Corey Preston around again. So Corey Preston, no matter what he tries, just not having any luck at the moment. A big moment under brakes on the rears, and he tagged around Jordan Ross as well, so those guys not having a fun time at all.
No, it looks like Corey just lost it a tiny bit on the entry there, maybe just locked the rear brake. Gave him a tap, and then looks like he's actually just looped it all by himself after the fact.
He's just lost it into the pit lane. He's just full-on crashed into the pit lane, and I would not be surprised to see Corey Preston out of this event. That was
wow. Yeah, he came in way too hot there. He probably should have taken his foot off the brake at that point, and he has gone on a 90-degree angle. yeah, I'd definitely say, looking at that, his race is very, very.
I don't think he had to take his foot off the brake. I think it was more take your foot off the throttle. Massive commitment there from Corey Preston, but nonetheless, he will be out of this event, no doubt about it, or at least with a huge amount of damage, as we now have a mass flurry into the pits. A lot of drivers taking their pit stops now. So we're now up to, let me do a quick head count, 6 cars who have taken their pit stops. So a lot of drivers taking the advantage at the moment, as Dane Warren actually getting caught up in traffic because of that. So Hampstead, of course, pitted early to just get a bit of an advantage over Warren, and Warren now having to fight his way through traffic as well, so that could be another factor that weaves its way into Hampstead, closing that gap down.
Yeah, one thing you never want when you're in the lead of the race is to be coming back through in traffic, because there is the potential that you can lose so much time, especially if your competitor has lots of clear air and they can just go off and do what they want to do. Just trying to have a look at couple of the times of some of the people who have pitted. Doesn't seem like the pace is too dramatic in terms of fresh tyres versus old tyres. About half a second to a second. So Wayne pitting a bit earlier. We might see him up near the battle that he was having earlier with Riley Bright and Brett Loxton.
Yeah, absolutely, but Loxton has not had a good pit stop. He's lost a lot of time, and McMullen is not far up behind now, so Loxton, much slower pit stop there, especially compared to Riley Blythe. So these guys really suffering as well. And look at Wayne Burke.
Yeah, McMullen has just come out right in front of Wayne Burke. So he's actually made up a good amount of time there, considering those problems he had earlier in the race.
Yeah, so these guys in a very, very close battle at the moment. So that has closed up considerably for McMullen. So big advantage there.
Dane Warren comes in sideways into the pits. That was very committed. It was about, I reckon that's the level of commitment that Corey Preston needed. And he just took it about 50% too far. But nice entry there from Dane. He's on the jack. Nice fresh fuel and some fresh rubber. And he should, predictably, he should come out in the lead of the race still. I think looking at the times, it doesn't look like Richard's been able to do enough to overlap him there. So,
but one thing I do have to point out is we have a pit speed limit of 64 kilometers an hour, and from what I was seeing, it was Dane Warren at 78 kilometers an hour. So very, very quick on entry there. So I'm surprised he actually got away without a penalty there. I'm very, very shocked at that, as he was massively over the speed limit.
Well, sometimes, we don't have the V8 Supercar real-life timing entries that they do, in the official V8 Supercar series. Yeah, so sometimes you can, obviously iRacing, it's a simulation, it is built around programming, and sometimes if you come in a bit hot on the entry, you can trick the programming into not giving you a penalty. So Dane could be aware of that and might have just slowed down a little bit more after the entry, just to ensure that he wasn't going to incur any penalties there. But he has come back out by the looks in position 1.
Yeah, he is effectively ahead of Hampstead. So Hampstead, he did make up a little bit of time, but nowhere near enough to even worry Dane Warren at the moment, who still does have traffic with the New Zealand sim racing car just in front of him of Lance Perkins, but Lance should get out of the way pretty soon or dive his way into the pits. So that won't be able to affect him for too much longer, as currently out in the lead is Michael Taliancic, who was involved in that big battle pack for position number 4, still opting not to take his pit stop at the moment, but second place, who is Jamie McKnight and Lance Perkins, they're both going to dive into the pits as well. So only one driver who is still out the front of the field, which is going to be Taliancic, still left to pit.
Just looking at the gap between Ryan O'Sullivan and Richard Hampstead as well, that's come down slightly, but Ryan's just not quite doing what he needs to do to be able to catch back up to Hampstead. They're trading very similar times, and their best lap times are only a tenth off each other. So that top 3 seems to be locked down for the time being, but it is a very difficult course. We have seen a lot of people getting slowdowns, so if a little bit of traffic comes up, you never know. We could see one of these guys with a slowdown and could be back on.
Yeah, absolutely. So easy to get around here. And actually, we've missed somewhere that McMullen has blown past Brett Loxton now and has put a bit of a gap on Burke as well. So McMullen having a really good charge at the moment and doing a great job to work his way, up the order after a bit of a rough start, rough qualifying, and of course that slowdown in the opening few laps. So he is still making progress, and we're only just over halfway in this race at the moment. So McMullen still got more time to play with, but for now we have to focus on Michael Taliancic, who makes the terribly slow trip down pit lane at 64 kilometers an hour. And it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in respect to Blythe. Blythe has been running in the consistent 36s at the moment. And just have a quick look at where Taliancic has been running. And he's been roughly in the same area as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how these guys come out of the pits. Of course, we will see Blythe go past him right now because of the how the pit lane works here. But with this pit lane exit, you actually cut the entire first section now. And this is going to be very close. Blythe is only going past under brakes now. It won't be enough though, so Blythe will in fact hold that position. The Taliancic is still lurking, but it will be a little bit close with his teammate, McMullen. It's going to be a drag race between those two, and Taliancic chooses not to fight the quicker McMullen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought Michael, having fresh tyres, he might be able to, make some good progress towards the guys ahead of him, but Marlon is a man on a charge. He is leading the championship at the moment, so maybe Michael just did him a solid there and said, go on mate, you're in it to win it, so how about it?
Yeah, absolutely. McMullen currently running in the 35s, and that's only matching Blythe in front at the moment. So if he's going to get more points, as I actually just cursed my teammate who gets a big moment over the curb there, and I just lost a little bit of time there. So just another 10th in the favour of McMullen. He's going to need every position he can get, especially with the likes of Warren and Hampstead out front at the moment. But there's not going to be much worrying Dane Warren though, as he is setting the fastest laps of the race at the moment. And even though he's leading and has a big comfortable gap over Richard Hampstead, he is just throwing caution to the wind over the curbs, 34.6. And he's going to back that up with a 35 flat on this next lap as well. So Dane Warren definitely proving a point here tonight at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And he's now comfortably 5.7 seconds ahead of Hampstead, which is no easy feat at all. And Ryan O'Sullivan just behind as well, who is slowly catching Hampstead, but with just 13 laps left in this race, could still be a tough ask for Sullivan.
Yeah, well, you said it at the beginning of the broadcast, Bo. Give Dane some clean air, and you better watch out. He's definitely showing that he is true to that. 5.7 second lead at this stage is pretty devastating for everyone else. So, it's not completely off the cards, but he's looking very settled. He's looking very confident. He's obviously smashing it in some really, really nice lap times there. So I think he's just going to continue on the way he's going, and he should have a nice cruising run to the way home. But looking at the way he's driving at the moment, you wouldn't say that he's cruising. He's definitely pushing.
Yeah, not at all. He is absolutely going for it at the moment. Just having a bit of fun in this race at the moment, and just trying to see what lap times he can do. Cool. This is going to... Oh, as we actually got McMullen. Yeah, McMullen with a slowdown.
And he's going to come under pressure here from Brett as well. He's going to send it down the inside. Nice move there. I think Marlon knew that one was up. He had to give that one up, but he could have capitalised and gotten a good exit there. He just got a bit of wheel spin. So that's not going to give him much of an opportunity to make a move into the upcoming chicane.
How many times can McMullen push himself back down the order? We saw this when he was fighting for the championship last season against Dane Warren, especially at Interlagos. He had a chance to get a really good strong result and just cracked a little bit under pressure, and perhaps crack still there for McMullen in season 1 of 2018. He has to make sure he can hold his ground and not make little mistakes like that, especially when running in the top 5 of the championship, especially when your potential championship contenders like Warren, Hampstead and Sullivan are in the top 3 positions of the race. So for McMullen, he's going to have to try and make his way up the order once again for the 3rd or 4th time in this race. And the guys who he is overtaking now, Loxton, Taliancic and the like, they've raced him before in this race, so they know where he's going to defend, and they're going to be able to use that against him. So McMullen is going to have to really pull something out if he's going to recover this result.
looking at the lap times here. It looks like everyone's doing pretty consistent lap times. Everyone's within a couple of tenths of each other. It's like Riley Blythe made a bit of a mistake on that last lap. He was about 5-6 tenths slower than Michael behind him, and nearly a second slower than Ryan ahead of him. But he's got a nice little buffer there either side of him, so he should just get his head down and keep progressing forward. Looking at Marlon now, he's getting very aggressive coming out of the exit of that corner there. He's going to get a nice little slipstream up behind Brett coming up to the chicane. But again, this is one of those places where unless you are extremely committed and you trust the guy that you're racing with, you're probably not going to make a move as he tucks back in.
No, not at all, but you can set yourself up for a move. Get a nice exit out of here, which does kind of do a bit of a squirrely moment there on the power out of the chicane though, so I don't think any opportunity going to happen into this first turn, which is a good overtaking opportunity if you do get the exit, but there aren't too many of those opportunities around this circuit. Loxton though, slow mid-corner. They're out of the second turn hairpin. McMullen has a bit of a look, but it's not going to be enough either, so McMullen really funny as Loxton on the rear brakes, and McMullen trying to go for a crossover. Can't quite do it yet. He's got to go the long way, which isn't going to happen. He has to be careful of Burke as well. But McMullen dives to the inside on the rear brakes himself.
We're really under brakes.
Loxton now going to have to try and defend this somehow, but McMullen moves for the over-under and does get the overlap just about. This is so tight between these guys. McMullen cannot afford an incident at this point of the race, and he dives it down to the inside on a place that you would not often call an overtake opportunity and has to back out of it. Loxton running a bit deep into the corner, a bit into the wall as well, and McMullen somehow gets away with that, but man, Brett Loxton had to defend for his life there, but he's going to have to defend a little bit more into the hairpin, miss the apex, and that allows McMullen to have a bit of a look. Couldn't do anything with it now, and if anything, McMullen now under more threat from Burke than he is from attacking Loxton.
Yeah, Loxton was really slow at the mid-corner there. Marlon had to kind of back it up a bit, and I think he might have almost made contact with the back of Brett's car, and that's allowed Wayne to really jump up on the back of his gearbox there. Marlon is pushing, you can tell. He wants to get past Brett. He obviously knows he made that mistake before.
Slow down for his teammate though, just in front. Talyancic has slowed down, and that's going to make this a 4-car battle because he misses turn 1 entirely. And Brett Loxton now is going to have to do something. And look at Brady Myers. He's made massive inroads in the last few laps. He was a huge amount quicker than both of these guys in front. McMullen 37.6, Burke 37.5, a 35.9 for Myers. He is on a charge, and now with Talyancic at the helm, McMullen's teammate, don't forget, Loxton is in a PSS sandwich on the rear brakes once again, and we have just 10 laps to go, and Brett Loxton wanted to meet in a very, very unfortunate sandwich.
Yeah, definitely not a position I'd want to be in at the moment. It looks like he's keeping his cool pretty well, and he just needs to keep it nice and calm, keep the car smooth. Obviously Marlon behind him is pushing. You can see him little fishtails everywhere he's going, just getting a little too trigger happy there. But they're going to come down into the hairpin here. And Marlon, again, not a fantastic exit. Wayne is right on the back of him.
Yeah, Burke got a much cleaner exit there, just got the rear tyres tractioned up a lot better. But the straight line speed of that performance in sports car is not lacking at all. And of course, Burke with a tiny bit of damage on my screen at least to that left side of the car. So perhaps that's affecting his aero speed just a little bit. These guys all murdering the chicane. And was that Brady Myers potentially a bit too much over the chicane? No, he's okay, so his charge continues. And he is still closing on these guys in front. Talliant is still leading with a bit of a gap to Loxton, who is not comfortable mid-corner in that car there. So Brett Loxton really suffering mid-corner, not where the setup is at with that Commodore. And that's allowing McMullen to get close so many times. But one thing Loxton does have going for him is he's very quick on entry, which means he can defend from positions potentially. And
yeah,
also like has Riley fallen back considerably. The Riley Blythe, he got a slowdown last lap at a round, and he's still suffering a bit. So Riley Blythe, he's got plenty of pace in that Falcon, but once again, he's just putting himself in a bit of a struggle position. And he's still got clean air all around him, but one more mistake, he could find himself in this battle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Michael has broken away a little bit from Brett. He's obviously recomposed himself, put his head down, and has been putting in some nice clean corners, coming out nicely out of the exit there. So he's actually starting to catch up to Riley a little bit. And I'm sure that Marlon is getting very frustrated behind Brett now. I'd be very surprised if Marlon doesn't catch up to him, but getting past it seemed to be much more difficult for Marlon. A couple of moves tonight haven't been going his way, so see how he can pull that back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think McMullen has unfortunately spent more laps behind Loxton than he has in clean air, so McMullen having to do it the hard way here today, but still nonetheless a lot of pace in that WPC concreting car. And he's definitely attacking the 18 car of Brett Loxton, who continues to impress in this series. Doesn't have the highest I rating of anyone by any means, but still plenty of pace indeed. And once again finds himself fighting for the top 5, so ever impressive there. And it will be interesting to see how he goes in something like V8 Scops this season. But for McMullen at the moment, not having an easy way of finding past Burke, still continuing to hassle behind. And Brady Myers continues to lurk in the distance just a little bit as well. So this is still going to be a very, very interesting final 8 laps of the race. Taliance is trying to hunt down Blythe, but for Loxton, it's just maximum defense right now.
Yeah, well, I have to say, Marlon hasn't been looking very comfortable in the braking zones. I've noticed he's been squirreling around a lot, obviously maybe locking up those rear tyres a little bit. So that could affect his confidence when he goes to pull another move on Loxton if he gets the opportunity to. And you can see as well, coming out of that hairpin, Wayne Burke is right on the back of him, and Wayne Burke is just marginally, I believe, he's almost the fastest car in this train. So, but Michael's putting in some nice times at the head of this train as well. But I think Riley Blythe, if he continues at the pace that he's going, and Michael continues at the pace that he's going, we could very easily see these two guys in a battle before the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I just want to quickly note, watching top speeds there down that long straight in the draft, McMullen, who was behind Loxton, of course, was still at a draft, 274 kilometers an hour. Wayne Burke, who should in theory have the biggest slipstream of all, only 265, so almost 13 kilometers an hour down in straight line speed. And so many times we've seen Burke get a fantastic exit out of that hairpin and been able to do nothing with it. That damage on the front is hurting a lot more than we would ever expect, or that Synergy Sim Racing car is just geared out just a little bit worse than the Performance Sim Sports car.
Yeah, it'd be pretty frustrating for him if he has damage. I know we've all probably been in that position quite a few times before, but he's just staying on the back of Marlon there, which is the smart thing to do. And you know, obviously, if these guys get into a battle, that's when Wayne will be able to make an opportunity for himself and hopefully grab a couple of positions. But yeah, for the meantime, he may just have to stay back there.
Yep, and McMullen really not looking comfortable at all there. Actually dropped back quite a bit from Loxton that previous lap. About a 4/10 of a second gap opened up there. And I think McMullen might have overcooked his tyres to the point where he's actually lost all form of pace now, and he's only being kept in this battle from the slipstream of Loxton in front. So McMullen really not having an easy time of this, and if this continues, of course, still 6 laps to go, 6 more trips of punishment for the rear tyres around here. That opportunity could very quickly arise for Wayne Burke, but lap times last time around, and my word, Riley Blythe a 36.4, and some 7/10 faster was the car behind of Michael Taliancic. So Taliancic is on a charge right now to find that time on Riley Blythe. Yeah,
I think Riley, he's been pushing pretty hard this race. Maybe the setup's not the way that he likes it, or it's just a little heavy on the tyres, but he's definitely not as fast as the cars behind him. People who are fast on track, give a shout out to Dane Warren in the lead there. He is absolutely killing it right now.
Wayne Burke with a slowdown, so he was looking like he could gain something from any issues for McMullen, but just going back to have a bit of a look on where they happened, and I think it was the final chicane there. So yes, it was. So Wayne Burke with a big slowdown, and because he didn't realise the slowdown for so long, he carried that slowdown into turn 1 and 2, which meant the slowdown took a lot longer to clear, and Brady Myers now very close. But another gap that is closing is right up at the front of our field. Another 1/10 of a second on that last lap for Sullivan to Hampstead. So second and third could potentially be closing down as well. We said it earlier that Sullivan was closing down just a 10th or a 10th or two every lap, and potentially he could get something done, but I thought it was too long of a shot. I didn't think Sullivan would be able to make that kind of ground on Hampstead for the entire stint, but he is absolutely proving me wrong right now. And Hampstead, if he continues at this pace, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. In fact, O'Sullivan, 4/10 of a second on that last lap. If he continues at that pace, he is 100% on the back of the TTL Falcon.
Yeah, Ryan's done a really good job managing that gap and bringing himself back towards Hampstead. But Dane Warren, 8.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. He is just cruising right now. He's having a great time.
Yep, he is, but there are a few drivers that aren't having good times, including Hampstead and Blythe, who are still being caught from the cars behind. We spoke about O'Sullivan and Hampstead, but for Blythe, there was another 4/10 of a second lost to Taliancic there. So that gap continues to come down very quickly indeed. And McMullen has found his way onto the back of Loxton as well. So those two are very close, maybe the closest they've been for the last few laps. So McMullen there with another chance to close in there. Loxton just running a bit too deep into that corner, and that's more advantage to McMullen if he doesn't hit the wall. Very close on the exit there. But if McMullen can do something very special in his hairpin, close a lot of time. We've seen Loxton be slow in mid-corner before, and once again McMullen just taking a few tenths out, but can't get traction, so still no advantage there. So it'll be very to see.
Loxton made a bit of a mistake there through turn 6 and 7 on this lap, which allowed Marlon to climb back right on the back of him, but he got a fantastic exit again out of the hairpin and has been able to draw that gap out a tiny bit more just to relieve a bit of that pressure. This battle's calming down a little bit now, but Riley Blythe is definitely very close to being caught by Michael.
Yep, another 3/10 on that lap, so Taliancic continues to claw away at the Evolution Racing Team Falcon. And I don't think Blythe is running his purple rims this race, so I won't give him too much rubbish for that today, but unfortunately his pace just not quite the same as Taliancic at the moment. 3/10 is not something you can afford, and the gap is 1.1 seconds with 4 laps to go. So at that rate, Taliancic is going to be well and truly in the slipstream on the final lap. So Blythe has to pull something out special. I know he's changed something in his brakes for this race, potentially not as consistent as he would like to be, but for him right now, he has to find something extra. Oh, and McMullen! He's had a slowdown again! So McMullen has now fallen into the clutches of Wayne Burke. So Wayne Burke once again given an opportunity to attack the performance in his sports car. Every time we speak of McMullen potentially being able to do something, an opportunity gets thrown away, and look at Burke get very racy into the hairpin. So McMullen now, instead of attacking, gonna have to defend.
Yeah, it's hard to tell whether Mullen's just really not comfortable with the car, or maybe all those mistakes have been, you know, building up in his head, and he's just been making unforced errors. But he's definitely in a position he doesn't want to be in. Wayne is a very good racer, and he will attack at the maximum, especially in the dying stages of this race.
Hampstead and O'Sullivan matching lap times for the last 2 laps, so not many inroads being created for O'Sullivan there. Still very close, and with a bit of traffic for Hampstead, potentially an opportunity that way if Hampstead catches him in the wrong way. And a slowdown for Blythe! A slowdown for Blythe, and that is going to be advantage Taliancic and Loxton. So that is big news. Riley Blythe, he was under pressure there. He was being caught, and he still can't clear the slowdown. The slowdown only just cleared now, and that is a big disaster there for Riley Blythe. In fact, he's only got about 8/10 of a second breathing room back to McMullen and Burke behind. And with the pace Blythe has had, it's not out of the question you could go even more backwards. But Taliancic handed that on a silver platter.
Yeah, Riley took way too much curb coming into turn 1 there. I think he pretty much had all 4 tyres on the curb, which in iRacing is a big no-no. And you can see right now he's trying to reclaim that time. He is heavy on the throttle coming out of that chicane section there. Nice and deep on the brakes. going to pick it up, and he's going to put his head down and try close that gap for Loxton. But with only 2 and a bit laps remaining, I think he might have, I don't think he's done himself a very big favour there.
No, not YouTube chat, Big J29. Warren is driving like he has somewhere else to be. Dude is gone. Dude is gone indeed. 10 seconds now back to Hampstead. But Hampstead not enjoying that same gap at all. Down to a second now between O'Sullivan and Hampstead. So that gap continues to come down. Of course, Blythe has relinquished position number 4 to Taliantich. And with the pace Taliantich has had, only a mistake will stop him there. And Loxton looks set as well. But Dane Warren, where is he gone? Dane Warren potentially disconnected. He's back on screen now, but a big blink there. Almost the commentator's curse there for Dane Warren. He is back now, but there is still, let's see how long the track is. There is still 5.5 kilometers left of tarmac for him to do. A lap and a half there for Dane Warren. He can the internet hold. The pace has been fantastic, but the internet connection has been a different story. He disconnected at the start of qualifying, and potentially issues could be flaring up once again, which would be heartbreak for him. But Hampstead 10 seconds behind at the moment, so Dane Warren has to do something special, maybe a quick lap to make sure he does not get to the finish line as fast as possible to avoid disconnecting. O'Sullivan trying to get onto the back of Hampstead, and this could be a potential disaster. But we go back to pretty much the only battle in the top 10 at the moment, which is McMullen, who is under huge pressure from Burke, and he's been touched sideways into the hairpin, has got no traction at all out of the hairpin, and it's going to be a drag race between these two. It's potentially going to go in the favour of McMullen, of course, with that a much better straight line speed, but this is on now. This is well and truly on. There's going to be 1 lap to go between those two, and look at Burke. He wants this position. He's going to get one more opportunity out of McMullen. So uncomfortable on the brakes, launching over the first curb, launching over the second, builds a gap to Burke behind. But if those guys get into contact once again, Brady Myers could potentially make up something of it. He's only a little bit behind now. 1 lap to go, and this is coming down to the wire between those two.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Wayne Burke trying a move down into the hairpin. Marlon has been pretty consistently not very good through that corner. Even that last time around, he got a bit loose on the entry, which is how Wayne managed to get into the back of him slightly. So if he can keep it tight up until that point, he may be able to put a move on him and get that 7th position.
Yeah, we will have to see. They're, of course, still very close at the moment. About 3/10 separating the two cars, and potentially a big dive bomb into the hairpin there for Wayne Burke. As Dane Warren on the back straight now, or
but
is
he's not. He's not. Oh, come on, Dane. Come on, Dane. Come back to us, mate.
We try to be unbiased here. He's back into the chicane.
He's there.
He's on the front straight now. Is this going to be another Vendevel moment? At the last second, disconnecting across the line. Let's hope so. He breaks the line. I wouldn't be doing that with your internet.
Yeah, that was very...
Richard Hampstead across the line for position at number 2. Ryan O'Sullivan gave it a big crack. He's going to be 3rd. And at the moment, Loxton is still under a little bit of pressure from Blythe, who made a good comeback. And look at Burke and Myers. Something has happened to Burke, and he has not had any pace at all in this last lap. Myers around the outside, made contact. And somehow Wayne Burke is going to get away with it. He's going to hold position number 8, but Brady Myers gave it a crack and absolutely had to go for it. And Cooper Webster through the final chicane to take the top 10. But Matt Morris is going to have a bit of an issue there. Oh, sorry, he's going to be on the offensive. See if he can make a way past Scott Larnack at the moment. Larnack hasn't had the most aggressive race of his life, but still has one more corner to defend. Matt Morris at the moment. This is going to be for position number 13. And all stations will be held there unless a mistake from Larnack through the final chicane. Albeit a very good run for Morris. An extremely good run for Morris. Pushing Larnack across the line. Bump drafting stuff. It's going to be a drag race across the line. And who's going to get that?
He got it!
Morris
wow!
Got it!
What a run out of the chicane. That was fantastic.
Larnack running out of fuel at the death. And Morris was bump drafting him. So almost threw his own chance away, but somehow, by less than 1/10 of a second, steals one from the Evolution Racing Team driver. What a finish. Jordan Ross comes home 16th. Emily Jones crashes across the finish line. And Brenton O'Brien, Port Power, will finish as the last car on the lead lap. But what a finish by all cars that was.
Yeah, and that just goes to prove exactly why, you know, even if you make a mistake, you pick yourself up and you keep as much time on the table as possible, because that came down to a tenth of a second there for Matt Morris, tipping Scott Larnack to get 13th position. That was a fantastic run out of there. And big shout out to Dane Warren for a fantastic race. He was on fire. His fastest lap, a 34.6, compared to Hampstead's best lap, a 35.1. So he was just it's just on another level today, and very, very nice victory for him.
Of course, so Warren, like you said, taking the win ahead of Richard Hampstead. Ryan O'Sullivan completes the podium for those guys. Michael Talianci and Brett Loxton round out the top 5 after their battle or race. Riley Blythe had a shot, but unfortunately cracked under pressure, but not as many times as Marlon McMullen, who comes home in position number 7. Wayne Burke fends it off Brady Myers for position 8, and Cooper Webster rounds it out your top 10. Thomas Hins will come home in position number 11. Jamie McKnight and Matt Morris and Scott Larnack, of course, with that absolute drag race across the line for 30th place, with Morris grabbing it at the death ahead of running out of fuel Larnack. Lance Perkins comes home in position number 15. And Jordan Ross, Emily Jones, Jane Borg, Brenton O'Brien, and Job Stewart rounds it out your last finishers, with Jason Cozzi, Ryan Shelton, Corey Preston, Greg Sharp, and Craig Jones being your DNFs for this race, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a few people in there I can see who are definitely not going to be happy with some of the results that they got there. It was a good race, though. We had a bit of biff and bargee early on in the race. Obviously, Craig and Greg got shafted out there pretty quickly. But the thing that's going to remain in my mind for that race, I think, is Corey Preston's pit entry. Talk about commitment. That was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, we sometimes talk about the commitment cone, but I think he took the commitment car and commitment barrier to a new level. But nonetheless, a fantastic race. Dane Warren will be your victor. So a fantastic job there from him, and a lot of strategy in that race as well, which is good to see. Drivers taking pit stops at different times just to make something else work. And they all played that off to an absolute T. So fantastic to see there. But for us here at V8 Online, our next broadcast will be on Thursday, which is the Cut Price Racing Rallycross Series, which I believe will be from Daytona Long. So that's going to be a very exciting track, and that's going to challenge those boys, isn't it, Zach?
Yeah, well, you know, this new Rallycross Series has been getting a lot of people in, and we've seen a lot of really, really intense racing. I know I've done a little bit of it myself, and it is fantastic fun. It's definitely a great addition to iRacing, and the Thursday night broadcasts have been absolutely fantastic to watch. I know I've been tuning in every Thursday, so I'm definitely looking forward to watching it myself.
Yep, so make sure you do get involved in the Cut Price Racing Rallycross Series, and if you want more, V8 Online, of course, the finale, the final round of the Blancpain Endurance Series Pro Qualifying, round number 6 at the Nürburgring, and yours truly will be racing in that, so we'll see how I can get on against those guys in the toughest qualifying series on iRacing. And of course, the big one, the Daytona 24 hours on the weekend as well. So make sure you get the V8 Online coverage of that as well. But from both myself and Zach, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.